In this video, I'll be talking about ways you can increase the roleplay in your area in Amtgard. In most cases, it'll take the effort of one or more individuals to achieve this, but it is a good place to start. Not all the ideas will work for you, but at the very least, it might inspire you to come up with your own methods. There are three main categories I'll be talking about: battle games, themed battle games, and quests. Plus, there will be a bonus category, the hybrid category. You can achieve various levels of roleplay with these three categories, with the least roleplaying coming from the standard battle games and the most coming from the quests. I'll explain the premise of each category, how it can be implemented, and give an example of how it can work. By far, the most common activity in Amtgard is probably the battle game. They typically offer the least amount of roleplay. They are mostly fast-paced, PvP-oriented affairs where you are playing a game role rather than a character. However, if you look for it, you can find ways to interject some roleplay. It's all in the perspective. What I'm going to suggest doesn't allow for interactive roleplay, but it does allow you to feel more like you're playing a character and not just playing a role. Before you play in a game, you can create a basic persona that you can roleplay when you go into the battle game. What is your character's personality? What is their race? What do you like to do? How do they like to achieve their goals? How does your character's powers manifest? What class or classes do they like to play? Once you are able to answer some or all of these questions, you are already on the road to role-playing in battle games. Take me, for example. I like to roleplay as a gnome. I decided my character was a tinker gnome. He liked to create magic-infused mechanical devices to achieve his goals. Sometimes he wanted to aid combat by providing these devices to other people, while sometimes he wanted to join in combat and use the devices himself. The class I chose to first represent my character was a summoner druid. I built a spell list around him, creating a mechanical golem to fight his battles for him. He also handed out various devices to other players to aid them in fighting. If I wanted to fight, I would instead take Avatar of Nature and build myself spell-infused mechanical suits to go and fight in. I could take this approach to apply to any of the classes. This type of roleplay doesn't affect anyone else, but it's fun to imagine you taking on a persona and playing a character. If you get enough people interested in playing the game from this perspective, you're on your way to creating an environment for role-playing. Theme battle games can inject a level of storytelling you don't find in your typical battle games, and it's easy to do. The basic idea is rather simple. You take a battle game, such as the Capture the Flag game, and frame it in such a way as to be a narrative-driven game. For example, the Capture the Flag could be two competing armies fighting over a resource for the respective kingdoms. It can also get somewhat complex. You could make a series of connected battle games that have a larger overall effect. For example, you could make it a series of battles that determine territory, risk style. You could take two or more teams and have them battle over various territories. It would be best played over several weeks or maybe even several months. You could set a specific number of games, and at the end of those battles, add up the territories, and the team with the most territories wins. In this scenario, it's best that you play different styles of games to keep it varied. You could also change up terrain rules to simulate different battlegrounds. Doing a group of themed linked battle games such as the one described above can create an environment for roleplay. It can help people feel like they are part of a larger story. It encourages them to get involved in their teams, which in the example above could actually be a whole kingdom. They could be encouraged to create a symbol for their kingdom, motivation for why they are fighting. Maybe they will develop a motto or a set of goals for their group. The sky's the limit. The best thing about the theme battle is at its heart, it's just a dressed up battle game. For people that don't care if they feel like they are role-playing, they won't feel like they are being infringed on, and the people that want to feel like they are part of a story will feel like they are part of a story. This is also a great way to introduce roleplay in a minor way to get people hyped for the idea of a more involved form of Amtgard roleplay, the quest. When people think of roleplay in Amtgard, most of them think of a quest. Quests can vary greatly from region to region and from park to park. It depends on who is running it and how they approach them. They can be fairly simple, little more than a theme battle, or it can be as complicated as an interactive D&D adventure. Quests are a combination of the area's culture and the person who runs it. One of the simplest quests I've ever seen was the Kingdom Relic quest. The goal of the quest was to have the relics go out to the players. The creator wanted to keep it simple and straightforward. The setup was that several monsters were guarding a bunch of supplies needed to make the relics. The goal was to defeat or distract the monsters so you could get the supplies. The winning condition was having all the supplies returned to an NPC, which was themed as an alchemist. This was basically a capture the flag game. What made this not a simple battle game was that players were broken up into adventuring parties and were battling monsters. The teams had up to 5 people, and the opposing force was made up of non-players. It could also be argued that there was a chance to roleplay with the monsters and the other NPC. As I said, this is the most basic quest I've encountered. On the other spectrum, you can have quests which are fairly complex. They take more work and may take more NPCs, so they are more difficult to organize. In the more complex quests, you can have interactive NPCs which give out information. You may have encounters which allow you to overcome them with roleplay, while still having some encounters which require combat. You can have multiple winning conditions that vary for the outcome. Maybe you could add a multi-step objective to win. You can create a multi-layer quest where there are many quests you can complete along the way to completing the main quest. Your imagination is the limit. While this video isn't about how to run quests, I will give you some advice since it can be overwhelming. While I said imagination is the limit, you have to make sure that the steps completing the quest are clear and concise. You don't have to blatantly tell what the goal is, but it's important to make sure the information is clear and easily obtainable. You will also find that what you might think is obvious might not be obvious to the players. The more complex it is, the more you're going to have to be willing to be flexible. Part of running a large quest is managing unforeseen problems. You have to be willing to change some things on the fly. Experience will tell you what you should or should not change. Bonus category. I wanted to take some time to talk about how you could combine battle games and quests to further cultivate roleplay. It isn't an overly complicated idea, but it's fairly new in my area. The idea is that you have a themed battle game that connects to a quest. This can be basic or as complex as you like. I'll be using my event, Shattered Kingdoms, which has been doing this for over 5 years now, as an example. It's a Thursday to Sunday role-playing campout. In our 5th year, the players started out by journeying to the kingdom of Anti-Paladin. Along the path, they encountered a graveyard overrun with undead. They had to destroy the graveyard to stop the undead from rising. This took the form of a 3-stage hold-the-point battle game. To defeat the undead, they had to hold the first point for 5 minutes, simulating destroying the area before moving on to the next area, doing this a total of 3 times. This encounter set the tone for the whole event. After defeating the undead, they continued along their way and found a village to spend the night at. This section of the event was open world questing. There were several mini-quests which told various parts of the weekend story. Many of the mini-quests informed players of the various goings-ons of the kingdom and what they might expect later in the event. The 2 main themes they were supposed to learn is that there was a higher than normal amount of undead and that there was a bandit problem in Unsiuk. The next day, the players encountered a guard tower which was overrun with bandits. This encounter took the form of an attack the keep style battle game with life shatter component. The bandits each had 5 lives and the goal was to shatter them. Near the end of the battle, a wave of undead attacked the players from the side, just to remind them that there was also an undead threat. The next step that day was another quest segment. They arrived at the kingdom and they were tasked by the king to find the source of the bandit threat and eliminate it. I hope that gives you some idea how you can incorporate battle games into a story for a quest. This can play out at the local level too. It doesn't have to be just at a campout. You can do it over several park days, maybe even a whole season. Battle games are a useful tool to tell pivotal moments in a larger story. It's something fun that a game master can tinker with and add to their toolbox. There are lots of ways in which you can cultivate roleplay. All it takes is some work. At the basic level, in the battle games, it's about how you perceive your character and their role. It involves a low level of commitment. It's also probably the least satisfying. The other 2 options, themed battle games and quests, require a lot more work. If you don't already have any form of themed battle games or quests in your area, you have your work cut out for you. You might find you'll have to take it upon yourself to help create the culture where roleplay can flourish. The best approach is to get at least a few people together, brainstorm some ideas, and then approach the monarchy. In my experience, if you come to the monarchy with a well thought out plan, they'll give it some serious consideration. I would suggest starting at the local level, work there, get some experience, and then look towards the kingdom level. If you take some of the steps that I suggest here, I think you'll find that people will be more open to the idea of roleplay in Amtgard. You may never get the immersion you can find in other LARPs, but I think you'll find a marked improvement in the roleplay experience in Amtgard. Thank you for watching this Let's LARP video. You may want to check out the video that inspired this one, Is Amtgard a LARP?, which you can find a link to in the description below. Please like the video, and if you'd like to see more LARP content, subscribe to the channel. Till next time, keep on LARPing!